Hi everyone, Buffalo Trace flagship versus Jim Beam 7 years. On paper, this should be a pretty close comparison. They're both 90 proof. Jim Beam 7 is now 90 proof. In its former bottle, which was the black aged, it was 86 proof. They've now upgraded it to this 7 year. The other one was maybe 6.5 years or somewhere in that range. Sometimes 7, but not always. So definitely 7 years. Buffalo Trace is not age dated, but this is rumored to be about in the 7 to 8 year range. I always kind of think 8, but these could be very, very close in age. They're both 90 proof. This mash bill number 1 from Buffalo Trace is their low rye, which means 10% rye or less. This Jim Beam 7 has 13% rye in its mash bill. I'm thinking the corn and malted barley are fairly similar, given that rye grain is, say, 10% here roughly and 13 here. So on paper, these should be pretty similar. I'm not going to do this as a blind because these have, to me, very distinct profiles. I just have an opinion, and I'm going to kind of just do it right side by side. I'm certainly thinking I'm going to like the Buffalo Trace better. I think this has a thicker mouthfeel. I think this is thinner. This is certainly thicker than the Jim Beam White, and I think it's even. I did a comparison with the black age. It's ever so slightly better with that little few months of age and the higher proof. But I just think that these two are not a comparison. On the flip side, you can get this for about $25 in that range. This should be around that same price. 28 to 32 used to be in New Jersey. Now this is 44 and up in New Jersey. Let's just give them a quick nose in order. Jim Beam 7, Buffalo Trace flagship. Well, right off the bat, I mean, Jim Beam has a certain profile to me. I find the Buffalo Trace has a nicer, sweeter nose. Let's give this Jim Beam 7 a taste. Cheers. Classic Jim Beam. It's very distinctive. That's why I wouldn't do this as a blind. Two different tastes, but just side by side. Which do I like better? I think I know, but let's give this a shot. Buffalo Trace. Cheers. It's no contest. No contest in terms of the fact that this is a better tasting bottle to me. I don't think it's close in that regard. But in terms of availability and price, these Jim Beam products, and not just this Jim Beam products, a lot of the other ones are definitely more available, more reasonably priced, and this goes beyond these bottles because the Buffalo Trace products are crazy priced, hard to find, allocated, whereas a lot of these Jim Beam products are easy to find, reasonably priced. So it kind of goes to that kind of flip side of one may be better than the other in terms of how they taste and all, but can you really find it? Can you really afford it? This certainly is not bad. This is not one of my favorite bourbons. I do think it's an improvement over this, ever so slightly, and certainly it is better than the white. But I still think this is a rather thin bourbon. Certainly the Jim Beam products above that are completely a different ball game. But in this comparison, yes, the Buffalo Trace is better, but I can guarantee you, at least in my area, that you'll be able to find this more readily and at a much better price. Cheers. Take care. Thanks for watching.